Welcome to episode 1 of the build series on this 1986 Honda CR125. If you guys already don't know, I'm entering this bike into Cameron Namella's Broke to Built bike build contest that ends on May 10th. Today is April 19th. That is 21 days to get this bike done. We got to get to work. There's 4 different classes. I'll be entering this one into the vintage class. I'm also entering a YZ250 in the 2-stroke class. You guys can click up here and check out that build series. Cameron himself and some other judges like Cole Seeley, Jade Dungy, Tyler Monaghan, they're going to be voting on these bikes for each class. They'll pick the top 5 and it'll open up for you guys to vote for an overall winner. So when that time comes, I will let you guys know. I would love to get your guys' votes. These things are going to turn out awesome, and I think we can win this thing. We got 21 days to get this thing done. No wasting time. Episode 1, here we go. Just like all my other videos, we're going to keep track of all the hours we have into it, how much we spend, all the parts we buy. That way, at the end of this series, we can go over our overall time spent on it and our overall cost. And you guys know me, we're going to end up selling this thing in the end, making room for another bike. But before we do that, I am going to want to ride this. I plan on riding it at AMA Vintage Days at Mid-Ohio. That is one of the most fun dirt bike events I've ever been to. And I can't wait to race this thing there when it's done. Very first step that I like to do is get this thing outside, get it cleaned up, but we're kind of gonna skip that real quick because I gotta check something out. I gotta pull this cylinder off and measure that piston that's in there. A lot of times on these vintage bikes, they've been overbored, so I need to pull that off, measure it, that way I know I'm ordering the correct parts. No up and down, yes. Piston actually looks really good. No crazy scoring or anything. All right, here we have it. Piston is in awesome shape. Cylinder is even better shape. No scoring. Still see the cross hatching. That is super good news. Part number on top. So I went ahead, took that part number, went over to eBay, typed that in, and bam, found it pretty easily. Weisco piston, 55 millimeters. So stock bore is 54 millimeters on here. Just to be sure, we'll go ahead and measure it, and we're right here at 54.98. In addition to the cylinder being in great shape, the head is in awesome shape as well. This thing will clean up really nice. We're also looking at the reeds here. So a good way to see if reeds are still good is you look through here, and if you see any, light or cracks in light coming through, that means they're bad. These ones are perfect. And then if you also look at all the edges, you can look for any chips or cracks. And these ones are great. So this is all good news, and I'm very excited. Oh man, that looks like straight oil coming out of there. Let's start pulling some of this other stuff off and breaking this bike down to the frame some more. How dry rotted these tires or how old these tires are, but we got to get them ripped off of here. We got to get the wheels completely taken apart. I'm taking the rims over to my buddy Garrett's this weekend for him to powder coat. We're going to gold color. That way he can do that over at his place, and then I can just stay here and keep working on all this stuff. On to one of the most terrifying parts. It's going to be unlacing these wheels. These things are old. I can tell they're pretty crusty. I have no idea if they're actually going to come off. I hope they do, but if I can't get them off, I'm going to have to cut them and then buy new spokes. And for these older bikes, spokes can be either really hard to find or really expensive. So wish me luck. Let's see if these come off easy or not. Well, that is not a good sign. Look how rusty these things are. I would not be surprised if we're cutting these things off. A lot of times, if sprocket bolts are giving you a problem or you don't want to strip them out, a method I like to use is I take the wrench for the nut on the back, and before I even start loosening anything up, I'll put that on that back nut, and I'll just hit it with a hammer. That way I can break that free before I start loosening anything else. All right, we got all the spokes except for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we had 7 that were giving us problems here. What we're gonna do, we're gonna fire up the torch, grab the vice grips, clamp down on that spoke, heat up that nipple. A lot of times this will break it free. Perfect. All right, we got them all out of the front wheel. The rear wheel is about to be a different story. Yeah, it's for a 1986 Honda CR125, the rear wheel. Yep. Well, you win some and you lose some. I just got off the phone with Buchanan Spokes. They're going to make us a set of spokes for this thing. Yeah, we could not save them. There's like 15 or 20 on there. I just couldn't get off. I broke a couple of them, so we're going to have to, chop them all off of here. That way we can get these rims over to my buddy Garrett, and he can get them powder coated, and we'll have those new spokes by next week. We got the whole bike taken apart, everything laid out here. It's looking pretty gross, but before we start digging into it and cleaning that stuff up, I just wanted to sit down and talk to you guys about our plan for this bike. We're going to be modeling this off of Johnny O'Mara's 1986 Honda CR125 Motocross the Nations bike. I'm not doing a full restoration on this bike because to do a restoration right, it takes a ton of time, a ton of money, neither of which I have. So I'm going to do what I like to call a Johnny O'Mara inspired CR125. If you guys are not familiar with who Johnny O'Mara is, he was a really good racer back in the 80s. He won motocross and supercross championships, and he's actually Jet Lawrence's riding coach right now. So when I picked this bike up and I was looking online to see what I wanted to do with it, his name started popping up, and the thing he's most known for was his Motocross the Nations race back in 1986. He essentially rode a production 125 just like this bike against modded out 500s and 250s against riders all over the world. He ended up placing second out of all those riders on this 125. I thought that was such a cool story, and with me having this bike and him being Jet Lawrence's riding coach right now, I think everything just kind of like lined up, and I'm like, we got to do this build. We got to do this bike. I cannot wait for you guys to see it. I can't wait to see it myself. We got to keep moving.